Keep your hands and head inside the vehicle at all times. Buckle your seatbelts, check your mirrors, sit on back and relax. It's lights out and away we go for the Tall and Short of It podcast. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another Tall and Short of It race companion. We have likely one of the most exciting races coming up here. The championship could be decided for Max Verstappen here, and Mercedes could do their best to lock in the Constructors' Championship, all to play for both teams. Good afternoon, Aaron, Sarah to my left. How's everybody doing?
Doing good. I'm really excited for this race. It's been a really awesome season so far. I'm excited to have Sarah along with us for this race companion as well. So welcome to the pod.
Thank you. I'm excited as well.
And we just wanted to make sure that Sarah had access to access to the conversation. Too many times she was off to the sidelines and we were bending our ear to try and hear what she was saying. So now she's part of the party, and I think maybe Sasha will make a guest appearance here as well.
Yeah. Exciting race though. We've got some interesting just like points, like Justin said. Constructors could be decided for or pushed towards the Mercedes way. Max with his 8-point lead would need to outscore Lewis by I believe they said 18 points this round. If he's going to lock in the World Championship. He's starting in third after a crash into the wall at the very last turn of the qualifying, leaving Mercedes with the 1-2. So tire strategy, and we'll see if there's potential for passing here, but it looks like a very tight track. It's going to be interesting.
With 3 DRS zones, it seems like these drivers will be able to find some space where we may not expect them to. That's a lot of opportunities for just the hardware to do some of the overtaking for them if they're able to get a good line into the turns.
Yeah. It's just that with them being able to go flat out so many areas, like there's a lot less ability to make some tricky moves around turns and everything. It really, I think, will be a lot of the DRS zones that will be determining the passes. So,
yeah, there is. Well, I guess something to be said. We're on a new circuit. We're at the Jeddah Corniche circuit in Saudi Arabia, and just from the camera shots that we're getting from like bird's eye view and from some of these buildings around the track, the blue lit up track is absolutely beautiful. Honestly, I think they did a great job, and I'm really excited to see a race here.
Yeah, these nighttime circuits, nighttime races are always fun. They give a nice little extra just change of look and of pace and all for the drivers, for us as viewers. So everyone's getting lined up into their spots on the grid, filing in slowly. So we'll see. Lando on the soft tires, the only one on the soft tires, could take a nice run at the beginning, have a little extra speed. Danny Ricks and I believe Leclerc possibly, or Sainz on the hard tires, but everyone else on the medium. And there are the lights out. Bottas got a really good start.
Max is hunting. Oh, Perez locks up behind him. Max is really close. Ferrari on the outside.
Sergio, a little bit of bump against the wall, it looks like, from Leclerc, and Perez is right on his tail.
Oh, wow. A lot of these drivers taking it really cautious here. We saw some lockup in the back. I don't know if something happened there. We see Lewis from Valtteri from Max. Ferrari, Perez behind him.
Yep, Leclerc in fourth. And so now coming down the straight, seeing if we can see some slipstreams kind of start, but Mercedes really trying to get away.
Looks like a great start from the Alfa Romeo, keeping his spots here.
Yeah.
There we go. Now, I'm really surprised that we didn't see any turn 1, lap 1 shenanigans here yet with how tight these walls are.
Yeah. Yuki really tried to shoot it up the inside there on Alonso, but This is a dangerous spot for Max right now because Lewis is going to be able to keep pulling away if he stays stuck behind Valtteri. Lando up to 6th. Leclerc just holding the Red Bull of Perez behind.
Lots of different lines. Carlos Sainz looks like just had some contact with the Alfa Romeo coming into the final turn.
Yep, getting through on Kimi.
Oh, here we go.
These slipstreams. There's the
We see mad sparks.
Danny trying to get past Gasly there.
The Alfa Romeo taking a really wide line. Is that Vettel, Raikkonen battle in there?
Yep, Vettel and Raikkonen. So the Aston Martins had a really tough qualifying, both ending up really far back in the grid, but Vettel is getting a little racy here early on, and those top 3 are just pulling away from the rest of the pack here.
Although I have to say, I think a big key of this race is going to be Perez not getting into whatever danger was about to happen, coming up on the back end of Max. Him able to keep it clean, stay in the race. He's up in P5 still. Didn't lose much from that. I honestly think that may be a big key to the race here for Red Bull moving forward.
Yeah, and I would not be surprised also to see some changes later on, probably towards like lap 10 to 12 because an incident between Stroll and Russell. But with the tires getting more and more wear than they were getting used to in some of the shorter runs, seeing how those tires fall off and everything, we don't have data on this track, but it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Lewis is not really being able to pull away from Max, and the DRS is going to be open now or available now on lap 3.
Well, and that you touched on it right there, not able to pull too much away. Now that the DRS is active, we have 3 DRS zones on the Jeddah Corniche circuit. I think Max was able to keep it close enough with those front 2, with the 2 Mercedes at 1 and 2, that they may be in a nice little DRS train where Max is just going to be able to keep using the draft that Valtteri has behind Lewis to his advantage.
Yeah, taking that slipstream. And man, Perez really had, just showing this replay of the start, Sergio had a shot up past Leclerc, but he locked up a little bit too hard, couldn't quite take the inside line into turn 2 there, and kind of locked himself back into 5th. But man, right at the start there was some cars touching. There were Lando getting a great start, trying to make a shot. The AlphaTauri of Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon kind of touching.
Yeah, that is really tight along there. You see going into turn 1, the bunching of all those cars. That would have been scary to be in the middle of all that. I'm so surprised that all this contact and nobody went out.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm glad everybody's safe and still moving.
Yep.
That's just very surprising.
Yeah, Lewis pulling away there, so Max is staying just back. He's just outside of that 1 second range right now on Valtteri. So trying to not fight the dirty air too much, overheat his brakes and tires until he probably has charged up some battery and is looking to be able to make a move. So
yeah. Now, what do you think about this battle here with Perez and Leclerc? Hopefully Perez can make some ground up, and then maybe we'll see some shakeups come tire swaps.
Yeah, it's tough because that's still in a similar kind of vein as what we were thinking about. So no investigation for the Stroll and Russell contact. But yeah, like talking about and hearing them talk about on the broadcast, the dirty air and fighting through that and all, that makes it much more difficult for these cars to fight their way through and get past. So seeing the cars stay a little further back until they're ready to make a move is interesting.
Very much so. Yeah, these walls are proven to be super tight. A lot of these looks drivers are having are getting nullified very quickly. Those braking zones come up fast.
Yeah. Seeing signs work his way up towards the points and everything up to 12th now behind, but he's got tough competition to get further up. He's gonna have to get past Giovinazzi, who's had a really fast looking Alfa Romeo this weekend, and Alonso, who is always tough. So he just always has the right spot to put his car.
Yeah, surprisingly, some of the other well, I guess with some of the recent if you've been following Formula One, I guess with some of the recent results from McLaren, we've seen Ferrari kind of pull away in the constructors for that battle for third, I guess it was. So hopefully, hopefully Sainz can pull further up into the points here.
Yeah, if they're going to keep Ferrari in, because I wouldn't be surprised to see Perez get past Leclerc here before too long. And so then Norris is going to be right on Leclerc's tail, and Ricardo's up ahead, so that could swing it back towards closer to even with McLaren coming back a little bit.
Now I'm interested to see how the soft tires perform here for Norris. He was able to get a really good start off the line, going for the outside on turn one. But we'll see. They predicted like high tire degradation.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with those, and if he ends up like actually losing places.
Yeah.
Just things to keep an eye out on. Fastest lap for Lewis, like you were gonna say.
Yep, absolutely. So it'll be interesting seeing these lines that the drivers are taking. So many of them are taking so much curb, and it makes it a little. Oh, Fernando Alonso goes off the track there through the runoff area. We'll see. I'm sure they'll look at that and probably note it, and if he keeps doing it, giving him some black and white flags for a 5-second penalty. But Hamilton just keeps putting in good times here. Yeah, so Max staying a second and a half back. Bottas staying a second and a half back from Lewis. So he's trying to leave enough space between him and Lewis to not end up in that dirty air that we were talking about, overheating the tires, more tire degradation, sliding around a bit more. But pretty tight battle in the midfield here, actually, which is exciting. I think that's something that we've missed out a little bit on this season. It seems like things get spread out pretty decently throughout the race, and there's a battle here or there. But this is a huge bunch of cars that are all in that same kind of spot. Oh yeah, Alonso just really could not get slowed down enough.
Well, I'm curious, what do the walls do for aerodynamics? Like, does it help the other so on like open walled circuits, I guess you could call them, does the draft or the slipstream like impede in some way when you're in the dirty air, or is so I guess you would need an engineer to answer this question, but is there a world where air is like being funneled in the walls so everybody's moving faster?
So I think that it would be more of a situation where it creates more dirty air if you're in that, because you would have the air pressure being cut by the car going through and being pushed outward. So on an open circuit, like that can just dissipate out into the surrounding area a bit more. On a walled track, at least in the lower area where there's a solid wall, I would imagine that bounces some of that air back in and can create some sliding around. I am not an engineer or a physicist, but that's definitely something that I would imagine is kind of going on, creating a bit more of that dirty air on a track like this than you would get on an open track like Hungary.
Sure.
So,
yeah, I think that makes more sense than it turning into like a funnel or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's Ricardo getting past Gasly up into P8. Sainz trying to go on the inside. Oh, and sticking it with the hard tires too. That was slick, but Alonso's coming right back at him. But can't quite make up that distance, so now having to drop back a little bit. But
these turns are so fast. They're barely even turns.
Well, they're barely even letting up on the gas at all.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
Wow. With the DRS, Danny was really he was able to follow real closely there. Whoa. And then a great move by Sainz to stick it. I'm honestly surprised that he was able to stick his tires there.
Well, it looked like he had even pace in hand there too.
Yeah, well, I was worried about him going off track, kind of trying to get back on that right hand for the turn two. That's he was flying in there.
We see the Alpha Tauris. Haven't talked about them yet today. We've got Gasly in P9. We've got Sonoda down in P13. He actually had some decent runs in qualifying. I don't know, where did he start on the grid?
He started, I believe, 11.
Okay.
So he did drop back a little bit. Excuse me, but he is still looking pretty good. Qualifying. Let's see here. No, Yuki was actually P8 in qualifying, so he has dropped back a decent chunk. So a bit more than I had thought. But Giovinazzi is still the P10 spot right now, so holding that tight for the last points with Sainz coming in behind him. So right now we have Hamilton, who's 2.5 seconds ahead of Bottas, who's a second and a half ahead of Max. Then we have Leclerc, Perez, Norris, Ocon, Ricardo, Gasly, Giovinazzi, and Sainz. So Sainz just out of the points with 2 McLarens up there, but Leclerc sticking it in P4 right now. And holding a 2.5 second gap on Perez is looking really good right now for Ferrari in their constructors fight with McLaren.
Yeah, Leclerc has been just such a consistent performer for Ferrari this year, and it only really seems like he's getting better. Although I have to say it's becoming a bit of a I don't want to say pattern or tradition, but here we go, Leclerc.
Signs on Giovinazzi.
Signs, gotcha.
Oh, yellow flag in Sector 3.
That's a Haas into the wall.
Mick, I hope he's okay, but that's going to be... That looks pretty hard. So... Sainz is going to have to give that place back to Giovinazzi, I believe. Let's hear.
Nice.
Oh, he sounds pretty shaken up. That's
Yeah.
Whew.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's scary. That was a big hit.
Tires gone.
Yeah. Those lines from the tires, just from the... So, yeah. So, we'll see what...
I think that's turn 22.
Yeah. So, this is... fortunately, I don't think going to have to red flag the race, but... yeah, this is going to be interesting to see what people do, because do you go onto the hard tire here? Yeah, Lewis coming in
hard,
because you could potentially take this to the end. And what they're saying on the broadcast, it sounds like probably about I would guess between 36 and 38 laps is probably the expected tire length for those. With a couple of laps under safety car, I can imagine that those tires are going to be able to extend those lives a little bit.
Sure.
Interesting.
And Russell,
2.4.
so Russell got
Russell.
past, yeah. And then Bottas coming into the pit as well. So this is gonna be the big key. We'll see with this strategy, what ends up happening. Perez
Point
comes in.
two. Where is Max?
They kept him out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're gonna give him position and see what they end up doing. Maybe going on to a hard tire a little later on and hoping to be able to have some good tire left at the end to come back at Mercedes. But leaving him out front there, Lewis trying to warm up his tires a bit.
That seems risky from Red Bull. That's what I'll say.
But I agree, but I think that this is the way that you have to look at it. So far, Max has not been able to take a shot at either of the Mercedes.
Sure.
They're looking at it, and with the tires and everything, if he comes in, goes on hard tires, he's still probably not going to be able to take a shot at them. He's on the same freshness of tires and everything. This was actually probably a big help to Mercedes because... and we see Valtteri intentionally slowing Max down very hard. So that's actually potentially going to be a that's not really very sportsmanlike. Valtteri slowing down Max intentionally to allow the pit crew to double stack them and have clean pit stops. So we'll see what the stewards have to say about that. And yeah, oof,
I
really.
mean, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from these that quadra stacked foam.
Yeah.
That just stops the fucking car, man.
Well, and you see that it braces the impact so well. There are those pockets that allow for cushion for it to break it. It's not just a dead stop hitting it super hard.
Yeah.
Mix out walking around, but I'm sure he will be getting taken to the medical tent at least. So
Yeah. Mick definitely sounding shooken up on the radio. Happy to see he's out and moving. Let's see what comes of this Valtteri slow up here.
yeah,
I think the stewards are gonna have a good look at that. I imagine Christian's gonna be on the radio.
yeah, and I could imagine it being a either I would say probably a 10-second penalty, not a stop and go or anything, but just a 10-second time penalty at the end of the race. And I just think that really it's just he knew what he was doing. He was slowing it down, intentionally giving them the opportunity to be on new tires without an issue. And that's what I was talking about right when the safety car came out. Sainz passed Giovinazzi there, and I don't know if he came past him before the yellow, but I was saying that I think he is going to have to give that place back.
Sure.
But based on the
That was a
timing
good
and all,
move, just bad timing.
yeah, and especially as the move was happening, it looked like Antonio kind of let off the gas a little bit. So that probably came into play as well a bit. But
Interestingly, we have an Aston Martin as the safety car.
yeah, it seems like a lot of the races that we would have had the Aston Martin safety car come out, since they were kind of rotating it through with the Mercedes, we didn't end up having safety cars. So they just kind of were there for the the formation lap and whatnot, and that's about it. Yeah, so those safety cars really slowing down, especially on a high-speed course like this. Talking to Michael Massey now.
Look at that, man.
It's
That
gorgeous.
looks beautiful. And
Yeah.
that's all the sea right there. And that's like a little lagoon there. That long straight's like out over the fucking water.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia has some really, really incredible, just like buildings and scenery and all of like man-made, just beautiful kind of like scenes. So that's
I
pretty.
think they call that architecture.
Yeah, well, but also like building it into, like you said, kind of going over the water, using the natural beauty of the area around as well. But
What's crazy is, and just to take a line from F1, what's crazy is this is not a permanent circuit. This is all going to be gone after today.
Really?
Hmm.
That's awesome.
that's pretty wild because, yeah, this is technically a street circuit, so it does go through some of the actual Jeddah streets. So, yeah, they'll be breaking down all of this, the barriers, and which is pretty wild. Like, just, I can't imagine the um, effort and workforce you kind of have to go through all of that. So,
You gotta give it to F1. They're definitely providing a good number of jobs in many countries around the world.
yeah.
It's cool though that they were able to build infrastructure that I'm sure this I believe the Corniche is actually the region of Saudi Arabia that this is built in, and they worked it into the name of the Grand Prix. So it seems like the Corniche has gotten like infrastructure built up so they can come and make it into a racetrack, But I guess when all this, oh, big red flag now.
Oh,
I guess when all this gets taken down, there will
that's
race
actually
suspended.
that's
Interesting.
huge. So, and what they're saying on the broadcast, you can change your tires during a red flag. So
Uh,
Lewis and Valtteri took that pit stop, end up in second and third, and now he's going to be on fresh tires in P1. So that is a huge, huge, huge break for Red Bull on this. So leaving, like what we said, leaving Max out there for that stop, and not, or for not taking that stop, is playing right into their hands. It'll be interesting because there is just some safety concerns about rebuilding that wall where Mick went into it, and making sure that everything, yeah, and everything is safe, everything's secure for any other potential incidents. But yeah, definitely agree. What do you think of what they're saying on the broadcast? They're talking about the how this plays into their hands and can be kind of controversial. So,
it sounds like so controversial in what sense? It just sounds like Mercedes is just salty that they got the
well,
tire strap wrong.
well, I think controversial
Well, not
from
wrong,
the side
but
of,
like,
well, controversial on the side of the like the FIA and Michael Massey, because they could have technically red flagged it right away and said, "Hey, we're gonna just do that now." But instead, they allow people to go through under the safety car, making pit stops, making decisions as if we are going to just go right back into racing, and then calling the red flag so late kind of affects a lot of people's strategies and all. I mean, I'd say that's just kind of the name of the game. They couldn't necessarily know until they removed Mick's car what kind of work or damage they need to repair. But Mercedes is definitely going to be a little unhappy that they were got the bad luck on that. So Lewis pretty unhappy, and understandably.
Find out what the reason is.
Yeah.
He is calling the stewards into the Mercedes garage. He's gonna fucking have a word with them himself.
Yeah.
But we see Max up out of the car. We see looks like all the drivers are gonna get up out of the car.
Yeah.
Let's go to a quick pause, and we'll be back once we're back racing.
Yep, we'll be back in just a moment.
And we're back. We have another standing start. We have the two Mercedes slowing way down, looking for a special invitation back to the grid. We're on lap 15. We had a time stop to rebuild the barriers where Schumacher went off, but we are lining up now while the other car is coming on.
Yeah, a lot of frustration coming from the different drivers and trying to get any little edge. Lewis slowing down, Valtteri slowing down during the safety car prior to the red flag. Max unhappy that Lewis is slowing down the rest of the grid behind him, cooling his tires down. The cars are really, really slowly filing in here. This is going to be interesting. So we've got, oh my gosh, this is everyone slowing it down desperately. So we're going to have a restart here. The lights are about to come on, and we're going to see with 35 laps left who gets a good start. And they're off. Lewis got a better. Lewis got a jump. He got, yep. And Valtteri.
Max took a really hard cut. He's in.
Max is going to have to. Well, how do you give that back?
Checo just spun.
That's
bad. Creating.
And that's going to be another safety. Another safety car.
Oh, and that is an
Russell
Alpine
as well. That is Esteban Ocon up in P2. Great start from the Alpine. We are going to get a second safety car here.
Oh.
That's a Haas in the wall, too.
Oh, and that's the Haas of Mazepin. So that might get red flagged. Yeah, that's probably a red flag again. So we might just go back immediately to red flag. George Russell out. Mazepin out. We'll see if Checo is able to stay in, but
there we go. That's what I wanted to hear. Max has to give the spot back to Lewis.
Well, it's interesting though. So Ocon will lead, then it will be Lewis P2, and then Max in P3. So
Mazepin's all right.
Yeah,
looks like Checo is moving in the car too.
Yeah, but he might be out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so going back into another red flag. So we will be back once we see what all is going to shake out, if Max has to give places back, and how that's going to work. But we'll be back shortly. And we are back, everyone. So we have everyone lining up for the restart for another standing start. We have a race call for Red Bull to go back to P3, giving Ocon the lead and Lewis in P2. So lining up with Ocon 1, Lewis P2, Max 3, Ricciardo 4 is the start of the grid, the first two rows. So they're getting lined up, and for the third time, we're about to get going.
And it looks like we had Russell, Mazepin, Sergio out as well, and Mick, and we are back underway. Oh, Max goes right for the middle, gets away pretty well. McLaren gets away. Max gets the inside line on Lewis. They avoid contact. Ocon goes way wide.
So
Same
Ocon's
thing
he'll have to give that back now as well.
Sure.
So Max goes, and he gets the position.
Fucking clean. There you go. They do the respectable thing, and Max does it on the track.
And Ricciardo there in P4 just like putting pressure on Lewis, with Valtteri right behind him though, and Gasly hanging in there in P5. This is exciting. That was
a really great start from Red Bull.
Yeah, like this is exciting.
Oh, the AlphaTauri going outside on the Ferrari, he's got that on that bank turn. Look at him.
Yeah.
It's just if he can lock it in, he gets ahead of him. He gets it done. Good job.
Tsunoda holding back both the Ferraris behind him, leaving them in a position to really not get as many points with Ricciardo up there in P4. So that's it's basically a complete flip of what we saw at the beginning of the race, with one McLaren up really, or with one Ferrari up really high in P4, and both the McLarens kind of further down the grid. We've kind of had a full flip now. And Lewis is going to just get stuck behind Ocon for a little bit at least while they're waiting for DRS to come on. Lewis is really using that slipstream, though, and is going to make a move.
He gets it done on Esteban.
Oof. He needed to desperately there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, now it's just a hunt for 1 and 2. Looks like Max is on mediums, Lewis is on the hards.
Yeah.
So Lewis is going to try and stick it all the way out, but...
Yeah, and Lewis stayed on the hard tires through the stop, did not do a pit while they were in the... Yeah. Ooh, wow. And there was some contact there.
Wow. Max just, like, he found every little nook and cranny, man, and stuck it.
Well, and that's like on that quali lap that he ended up crashing out on. He was taking every inch that he could to try and put himself in the right spot. He got inside on Lewis. He drove that clean. That was fair, and then he got a better jump out of it. I don't know if Ocon gave that place back or if he was just had the heat in the tires and the mediums and the speed to go past him. But man,
look at them.
That
Ooh.
Yeah. So fortunately, we even with that contact between Hamilton and Ocon, we did not end up with any either of them going out. Like you would hate to see that. That would really leave Max to potentially win here, and you want to see it done with the driving, not because of someone getting bumped. So.
Sure. So we've got a couple of replays here from the laps after the restart. Now we're back to live here. 19 out of 50 laps to go, and Lewis is on the charge behind Max. 0.3 quicker.
Yeah.
We have both of the Ferraris hunting behind the AlphaTauris here.
Yeah, down all the way down to 10th and 11th, though. So that's like a really big point swing for McLaren as it stands right now. Lando, who is in P16, has gotten past Latifi, now with Alonso in front of him. And so he's got 3 world championships just sitting directly in front of him, with the 2 of Alonso and 1 for Raikkonen, just slowing him down, keeping him back.
After the race. Wait, so they're even going to investigate it after they let the teams handle it?
I think so, in a sense of more. It'll be more so most likely, was Max pushed off, or did they allow him through and allow him the space to get through? I feel like that's probably going to be the key there. So
they come out, say, yeah, he got pushed, and award 50 points to Gryffindor, gifting him the lead.
I wouldn't be surprised if maybe a 5-second penalty or something was added on. I doubt that they will do that, just because they clearly did not want to involve the stewards in that. But
lack of power.
That's concerning. But he's still staying out of that DRS range of Lewis, so lack of power from Max. We don't know when that radio message truly came through. They always play them a little delayed. But he's really holding as best he can that spot.
Gotcha. Battery power. Nothing too seriously wrong. Let's just let's hope.
Well, and so that's just due to you reduce the amount of power you're going to the power unit or to the engine as you're charging the battery. So it maybe had gone into a battery charge mode or was still charging when Max thought that it should have completed the charge or whatnot. So just a small, difficulty there. Ocon, though, really, he's dropped 5 seconds back now and is kind of bottlenecking the rest of the grid behind him, letting Max and Lewis just get out there and get after it. Watching Lewis on the restart, he did, and honestly, that could be considered potentially something against Lewis as well. I wouldn't be surprised if the stewards are watching that, because he was not ahead of Ocon and then went into him as Ocon was trying to take the line. I would say they were probably side by side, so no investigation needed, but
gotcha. I see what you're saying.
But if you're looking at it, like, Ocon is up in P1 and him having that priority should have been able to turn in, and Lewis did not allow it. So,
yeah, it looked like he was trying to play a little bit of defense, maybe cover him off a little bit. But, we're on to lap 21. Max trying to stay out of that DRS. Like we had said, there's 3 DRS zones. We have a lot of opportunities for Lewis to get the jump on him. There we go. He's within it.
Yeah, but the big question is, do a set of mediums last you 34 laps on this track? I mean, granted, you are in open air, so for Max, you are going to have less tire wear and everything, but yeah, Lewis is really going to be trying to get after him, and he is getting tight behind him there in that, yeah. Oh, Max, I think, had a cleaner line there through those turns. So he pushed that. That was a little slip from Lewis there. Pushed that from 0.6 to a second and a half. He's really dropping back.
From this driver perspective, man, this is so fast.
It's incredibly fast. I can't even imagine, like, in one of the F1 games, like, being able to do this without bumping walls and things like that. Australia always gives me difficulty because of the tight walls on a couple sections, and those are not as tight as this. So.
Right. Yeah, this is intense with the walls coming up really quick.
Yeah. But Max putting in a really strong first sector there, taking the fastest first sector, and he just looks smooth right now. He looks like he is so comfortable, and the Mercedes behind him just in the straight lines looking so good, but just can't quite get up there. And man, just watching them come around that last turn and how close they get to the wall.
Yeah, it's really, really concerning.
Yeah.
Keeps a decent lead down into the pit straight. I have a feeling this camera is just going to be on Lewis and Max literally the whole time. Ocon's 7 seconds behind. Ricardo's back there. We're on board with Valtteri right now. He's kind of close behind Ricardo. He'll have some opportunities here with DRS. But yeah, man, this is going to be all about Max and Lewis at the front.
Yeah, and I mean, it is interesting, though, with Perez out, that this... yellow flag in sector. We see the AlphaTauri... Yuki Tsunoda going into the barriers. He is gonna need a new front wing. There probably won't be a... let's see if he can get around or if he's gonna get stuck on his wing. He's stuck on his wing so far. You're gonna have to reverse Yuki.
Yeah, he's in a more situation now.
Oh, his brakes are on fire.
No. There you go. He got it out.
All right. It's so funny to me that these cars are so difficult to get. The cars are so difficult to get into reverse.
Yeah. Virtual safety car. He's off and away.
But he's going to be able to go to the pits, get a new nose, and he's still going. Man, what happened? Oh, and signs on Leclerc and the Ferraris.
Whoa,
And okay, so Yuki was trying. Oh.
Whoa.
So
God
Yuki, just tapping Vettel there.
And he was even off, so he was kind of coming back on track.
Yeah, that was.
No, he was just on the curb. My bad.
I think
that was a bad angle.
Yuki needed to back out there though, because Vettel was ahead of him at that point.
And then the Ferrari boys, they're racing each other really hard.
Yep.
Which I really don't think they need to. Like, aren't they just supposed to look for the constructors right now?
Yeah, I think that they should not be racing each other like that. That's just not a good scenario for the team. Ricardo and P4 would get what is that? 12 points, 15 points, something like that. And so a 12-point swing if the Ferraris do touch and take each other out is a big swing. So
yeah. Massive.
So right now,
yep. Go ahead. You were gonna call.
Oh no, you got it.
We got Lewis behind about 14 if Max finishes where he does and Lewis finishes where he does.
With the fastest lap.
Yeah, with the fastest lap.
And then about a 4-point swing positively for Mercedes with Valtteri there if he can get to P3, I believe. So I wonder how much more difficult it is to drive with no front nose or with no like front wing as it is when you are like normally driving. Like how much tougher is it to turn because of the aero?
Probably much more difficult. However, I think those are the pieces that give downforce into the turns. So if you're just cruising just to get back, I imagine it doesn't make it unsafe to drive, but you just obviously lose your, oomph in the corners, which you're not trying to. You're just trying to get back.
That makes sense. Max holding about a second ahead of Lewis.
We have Stroll and Vettel racing very close to each other in P10 and P11. I think...
and both Ferraris within 0.4 of each other as well. That's really tight.
I think there's something to be said for... I remember it was probably a point that we talked about very early on in, enjoying Formula 1 with the podcast where you said like, oh yeah, it's great to see, both of the cars, driving near each other and next to each other and have similar pace. And so now that's just always something I latch onto over on the column.
Well, it's so easy to see too. It sticks out like a sore thumb.
It does, very much so. So yeah, I feel like I was just like commenting on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because that's one of those things like you want the speeds to be close together and you want them to be close in position because that shows that both drivers are driving around the same pace, same just not making mistakes, like similar in general. But like you don't necessarily want them racing each other and putting each other into potentially dangerous situations. So that's where that kind of like you've got a little give and take. Max takes the fastest lap, which is immediately taken by Lewis.
It's interesting where P2 usually has the fastest lap. I think that's awesome because that does really talk about the slipstream that happens. There's Alonso.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
seeing those cars come past the front nose is just...
I have a feeling if we're back here... I'll just say I have a feeling the next time we're back here we're going to see some changes to the circuit.
There have to be, honestly, and this is a little dangerous for Red Bull right here. They're coming up on Yuki, so if he doesn't get out of the way very easily, then all of a sudden you're backing up Max into Lewis and putting him in a spot. I mean, we'll see how that works out here, but that's a potential concern for Red Bull. Fortunately, being a sister team, I can imagine they'll be Yuki will be giving up that place very easily in the position. But
Yeah, those sparks always look intense, don't they?
Mhm.
We see Norris get past Vettel there.
Oh,
Where
Well,
Vettel lost
Sonoda's
part of his
fin
wing.
had like gone underneath the car.
5 second penalty for Sonoda.
Yeah, so
There we
that's what
go.
I was looking and expecting. Oh, that did though. That backed Max up from being second and 1.2 ahead to zero point 0.8 very quickly. So now,
DRS, he's gonna have to find time away from Lewis.
yeah, but that's the big thing though. The Red Bull is so good in that first sector. He's being able to push himself out of that DRS zone so quickly before or the DRS range before we hit any DRS zones.
Shit.
There's debris on the track. It's like kind of off the racing line.
I saw
but
that too. Yeah,
Not by
that's
much if
concerning. That
Yeah, not by much.
I think that was the piece that we saw flopping off Vettel's car.
It
It
was.
was. You're right. Holy shit. Dude, they really are in another league right now. Max and Lewis are racing right next to each other, and everybody's literally like 13, 15, 16, 20, 23 seconds behind.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. However, I would like to point out Giovinazzi having a really good day.
I did want to mention that as well, so I'm glad you brought us back to it.
Well, there's something I think we as well, me as an individual, I think will look back very fondly on Giovinazzi, being that his most recent results before going out of F1 were really positive and really strong for him as a driver and for Alfa Romeo. So I
Yeah.
think when looking back, we're going to be like, oh yeah, he really leveled up, didn't he?
Well, and to be honest, like I think a lot of people are recognizing that as well. They're looking at the Guan Yu Zhou team edition, which is really taking Giovinazzi's place as opposed to Raikkonen, whose position is being taken by Valtteri. So
Because just based on timing and when that stuff's decided.
right, exactly. So with Antonio, and there we see one of the
I thought he
team
was
members
playing.
hopping across, grabbing some of that debris.
That would have been amazing.
I thought he was gonna fall. I just
Well,
he
I
looked
really did. Too.
he looked
Can you imagine?
stumbling.
Can you imagine if a steward was fucking like run over,
I don't want to
Just
imagine that.
split in half?
I just
That'd be insane.
I don't even want to think about it. That's
No one gets shut down. Murder on the circuit.
well. There's
All right, anyway.
there's so many regulations that like even with Roman Grosjean, there were a lot of the track workers and things like that got like reprimands after that incident because there were like people running across the track to like help him out and everything when
Right.
it's supposed to be the people who are on that side of the track staying so that you're not having to put anyone in danger. So it's
Trying to get the other man free.
yeah, exactly. But very, very interesting to see and like watching Lewis just get so close to Max here within a second again. It's going to be interesting if Max is able to keep him behind, but also to maintain kind of that tire wear and everything on the medium.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see how this progresses because based on inside of 6, Alonso, I think, point to debris on the track. There's something to be said for Mercedes calling to Lewis before the thing that being on the hards for the end of the race is going to be the strategy. I'm worried while Red Bull and Max got leveled up from a couple of things happening in like the early stages and the mid stages of the race. I'm worried that the tire choice from Mercedes is going to end up being win out in today.
Yeah, it's
do you
interesting. So these are the problems. These are the things that are actually, I think, moving into Red Bull's favor for this
is these safety
we're
cars.
seeing these virtual safety cars come out, which are allowing Max to maintain his position and lead without putting as much degradation onto the tire. This is now probably 4 to 5 laps that we have had probably minimal tire degradation. So that's allowing Max to really move forward with a set of tires that could like get closer and closer and closer to being safe towards the end, or having similar tire wear as Lewis in terms of the hard versus medium.
Sure. I think that's a really good point to make. The other thing I was thinking as you were saying that is it pulls the back markers up closer, so there's more of the track that's free air for Max and Lewis, because ultimately, if they are battling so close, it's going to be a concern for both drivers.
Yeah. Absolutely, and like hearing I don't know if you guys heard Alonso's message there, but he is very unhappy with the condition of the track, the amount of debris. He's like, we've red flagged twice because of things, and now we're driving at full speed around all of this. So definitely concerns there. But yeah, both teams I think are going to be in similar positions towards the end between Red Bull and Mercedes for that P1 fight with their tires. So but I will be right back. I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick. So
yeah, sure, yeah, no problem. We're still on a virtual safety car here on lap 30, and I'm gonna go to the other side of the couch here. Sarah, how have you been enjoying the race? What do you think?
Been very interesting.
Yeah.
With the 2 stops and resetting the whole layout. It's just been a good race.
Now, what are your concerns here coming into the the last what would it be, like the last 15? We'll say the last leg of the race.
Looks like Max was starting to pull away, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. It's just interesting, like looking back through all these replays and seeing the contact, seeing the touches on the wall and this and that. There's obviously always going to be concerns going into like new circuits, new races, but I think they're going to have a lot to go over here to make improvements going on to the next circuit. And now, just as like a spectator and a fan, I'm by no means unhappy. I think Fernando makes a lot of good points, but overall it's fast, but we'll see what ends up coming of it. But overall, I think this has been a very exciting racetrack, albeit definite safety concerns. We still see Lewis we're not racing at all. We're still on a virtual safety car, but one concern is we have the front drivers 1 and 2 coming up on what looks like Raikkonen in the Alfa Romeo. So hopefully once the virtual safety car ends, the AR won't get in the way there.
Yeah, it's one of those cars.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask if Tsunoda has taken his 5-second penalty already.
No, that's likely going to be applied to the end of at the end of the race, right? Okay. Is that what you would think, Aaron?
Ooh, yeah, I would think so. But look at that's
just that's just the wobble. That's the load going through it.
Yeah, but it's just wild to see that as they're under virtual safety car, to see him almost sliding potentially with that. So
now, yeah, not. No, I'm not gonna. Just thinking ahead to the end of the race, this is just going to be very exciting with the factors at play here once we get back to racing.
Yeah,
but I mean, like you had talked about, the more under virtual safety car we are, the better it gets for Max.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just playing like they have been fortunate now on not pitting under the first safety car that turned into a red flag. Now, being able to keep tire deg down on these virtual safety car laps and everything. A lot of this is just like that is sometimes the way it goes with some good fortune coming to your side. That it's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, to quote Bruce Almighty. Now, I'm worried. What would you say? I actually just totally lost my train of thought there. I don't know where I was going with that.
Happens, all good. We're looking at Max here coming up right onto Raikkonen. Lewis they're kind of rubber banding back and forth and all.
Trying to stay within the delta.
Max. I love it. That's that Yost fire that we saw from qualies. Watching Max's dad just slam his hands on the table. Like, I thought the table was going to break in half and just everything was going to slide to the middle.
I know. Get, like, comic book splinters with him, like, having it all, like, shattering up around him. Dude, he was so pissed.
I mean, I understand it. Like, his son being in the position he's in, like, that's got to be such a frustration. But I love how they're showing Kimi's last win as if, like, he's in P1 ahead of Max. Like, Kimi's last win was the U.S. Grand Prix in 2018. And it's like, well, now he's in second to last. So, like...
I'm curious how much... I'm curious how much the broadcasters are the people talking in tune with what people are showing, or is it like the broadcast directors are a little bit ahead and the casters just have to keep up? Because there's a world where you kind of just have to like talk about what's on screen and whatever. But yeah, it's funny to for them to be talking about the guy in P15, and Max just runs away. He picked a really good spot.
Yeah, the virtual safety car ended, green flags, and Max just is gone.
Damn.
Oh wow, that's gonna be big for Max to get Lewis behind.
Yeah, he picked a really good spot.
Okay, Kimi did a really good job though of letting Lewis through, but Max has a nice gap.
1.8. That's the biggest we've seen, under racing conditions. That's a pretty big lead that we've seen.
Yeah, it was usually hanging between that 0.8 to 1.2, kind of fluctuating back depending where they were on the circuit. But
yeah,
Lewis is probably not thrilled.
Well, it looks like coming through Mosque at turn 22, it looks like these drivers are really like... They've really honed in on that corner, and it seems like the track is gripping up here as we come into the final 17.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually funny, like, I wanted to mention, a little wobble from Lewis there, but the interesting thing is, like, you have so much trouble seeing how much rubber and how the track is, like, what they call rubbered with, like, the drivers and the tire wear on it until you see the stewards and the different F1 people coming onto the track to like pick up debris, because you can literally see their footprints on the track. Like, you can't see that as a person normally just crosses the street, but because of the amount of rubber, like, you can actually see individual footprints from them, which is wild to me. And like, I saw that during the virtual safety car and I was like, that's pretty insane.
Yeah, and you're right on it. That's exactly what it is. It's that hot, like almost liquid metal that's like helping create the grip for the drivers.
Yeah, talking about like the marbles that they pick up at the end of the race, doing that last lap around, picking up all the little bits of rubber on their tire to make sure that their car is in the right weight and everything. That's just like a normal thing. But the rubber actually coming off in these hot marbles, these hot little balls of rubber as they leave the edges of the tires is also, like, it's such an interesting component. Like, it plays the part it does in it. It's not really a big deal. It's just the way it happens, but it's a cool, like, kind of side effect of the racing.
I would argue that there are tracks and races where the marbling on drivers' tires at the end, or marbling on the track at the end of a race, depending on what line drivers are taking, can be like a big factor. And also as that means that the track is fastest at the end of the race. Right?
Yeah. Well, and you're seeing that with the cars as well as the track. The track is getting all that additional rubber, but the cars are also getting lighter. There's less fuel in them. It's really more debris.
It's like a can.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that
Yeah,
last
it kind of looked like a can, but I think it's probably a piece of front wing or something like that. That's the most common chunk to come off an F1 car. But if it is, it's got to be like sitting upright on like the sides of the spoilers have those flat ends. I feel like it's sitting like upright on it, which is giving it that look, like you said, of like a tin can on the track.
Damn, keeping them right out of DRS, man, as they swing into these straights. Now, do you have to be... Does it only open up if you're at a second or within a second gap as you go into the detection zone? It won't open up as you're within it.
If he gets within a full... and another virtual safety car.
There we go.
Wow. It's wild seeing them react even to the virtual safety cars. Yeah, look at that. It's got to be the end of a nose just sitting up right there on the end.
Oh, there he goes. He's hopping out the yellow.
That's the... I kept saying stewards. It's marshals. Whose car?
True.
Yeah. Wow. And they're just getting going. That's really...
Max is picking these spots just beautifully. Like, he's on the exit of the turn, nailing the accelerator, and Lewis has to get out of the turn before he can hit the accelerator.
Yeah.
Max is picking his spot beautifully.
Wow. They enabled DRS quickly, so that gave... Wow. They really instantly, like, enabled the DRS there and put Lewis in a really good spot.
Yeah.
Because that was another thing. Like, he's got slipstream, he's got DRS. Let's see, he's gonna have to go outside, and let's see how deep he goes. Oh, I think Max.
That was a lot better than I thought it was.
Yeah, I was concerned too. I think Lewis might have touched him. That's interesting. We'll have to see what happens because Lewis goes to the outside there, gets past him. Max does have, I think they touched.
Yeah, he did.
So that's a noted incident.
Whoa.
And Lewis is not happy. Yeah, Max got bumped. Yeah, Max braked later, and so he... Yeah.
Dude, what?
Oh, man.
That is so fucking close.
That's such a difficult thing. Oh, man, Lewis is not pleased. Oh my gosh, this is...
Wait, Max was
trying to give
the message of slowing down?
he was taking the message of giving the position back, and then Lewis hit him. That is going to be at the very least a fine to Red Bull, because Max was told to give the position back, and Lewis tried to.
I think it was just Max slowing down so much.
I think I don't. That's something I hope Max doesn't get. Yeah, I hope that Max doesn't get. I hope Max doesn't get penalized for that. That should have been a penalty or a fine, honestly, to Red Bull, because they did not instruct Max very well. Lewis had no idea.
What the fuck?
Man, I hate this. Like, this is so frustrating to see. Man, Toto's got.
What?
Well, I understand the anger. Like,
yeah, fucking fair enough, dude. This is ridiculous.
Like,
honestly, when has that ever happened where it's just like,
yeah, why is Red Bull telling, like, oh, okay, so this is where this becomes interesting, because if I don't know, because did the stewards tell Red Bull to tell Max to give the position back, or was Red Bull preemptively telling Max, hey, give the position? Like, that's
they were likely trying to preempt it.
But and in that case, like, that should be a fine to Red Bull. I don't think Max should get blamed. Like, I don't know. Like, he was being told to give the position back. He was just trying to listen to, and I think if you are a driver, so this is what
Lewis,
I think.
And Lewis still thought he was in an overtaking condition.
Right. So if this is what you're looking at, so if you're thinking, if Max is sitting there going, the FIA told me to give the position back, that's why my team's telling me to do that, then under Max's mind is that Lewis is hearing from his team, hey, the FIA said to Red Bull that he needs to give that position back, so go past him. Like, Max is under the instruction of, like, let him pass, and also under the assumption that Lewis knows that he's allowed to go by, because otherwise Lewis is not going to get that close to Max and fucking try and, like, move last second.
Yeah,
like,
that was ridiculously close.
That was that's a communication issue.
Middle of the,
I think it was probably he was on the racing line, and that's the way that he would normally drive that. He's being told give the position back. He's like, I guess, like, maybe, like, maybe if I stand still, then Lewis can just pick which side to go on. Like, he's like, I don't want to swing suddenly in one direction or another.
And actually, in trying to avoid a collision, he in not making a choice.
Like, that's one of those things where if you're walking in public and someone's like on your left, like, it's just easier to stay straight because you're like, I guess, like, I don't want to do something weird. Like,
oh man, this is brutal.
But also, like, if you're Lewis and you're behind. Okay, so race control said to give the place back. So 10 laps to go. This has been an interesting thing. Max is 2.5 seconds ahead of Lewis, and it's like you just have to okay. So you see, I think driver of the day between Max, Lewis, and Ocon. I've got to give it to fucking Ocon if I'm anyone. Like, this is ridiculous.
He's just casually going to get a podium here.
But that's the thing, too, is that it's so frustrating because race control, apparently, according to this, instructed
Dude, there's a lot of confusion on the radio right now. This doesn't feel very safe at all.
I don't like this. I'm actually really unhappy with this situation. And as they're saying on the broadcast and what we're hearing right now, there's so much confusion between the sporting director of Mercedes, the FIA, Red Bull, information to Max, information to Lewis. Like, Max, if he has to give this position back, he needs to do that now.
Right,
because
right.
You want as many laps as you can to get back past Lewis.
On a track where it's clear, there's a lot of opportunities. Lewis is in.
Yeah,
but Max is keeping this almost 1.5 to almost 2 second lead. What's going on over the radio where he's just not immediately pulling over to the side if that's going to be the call?
I'm so confused.
Ocon's 25 seconds back. There's no scenario where it's if we slow up for Lewis, Ocon gets. What is going on here?
And Max left a ton of room there, just like they were saying.
Yeah, I guess Lewis did stay right up behind him. I guess he could have went the inside as well.
Yeah,
but I don't think he had any idea what he was doing.
Yeah,
neither of them had any idea what was happening. Lewis thought he was still under racing conditions. Max is getting piped into the radio saying you're giving a place back for the incident, which is fair enough. Lines get crisscrossed. Now we have debris on the track. We're going to get another virtual safety car. When does he give the place back?
Also, just as they were saying, which is why another thing, which is why I would see Max not giving the place back. Lewis slowed up a lot behind Max. He didn't just go if Max slowed up a lot. If you're Lewis and you see Max slow up that much, why don't you just
just dive the inside line?
Yeah. If you're thinking you're under racing conditions, why do you not do that? So Max just gave the position back and then
just raced him.
And then just took the inside line. And
there you go.
This is so and he gets the DRS. This is so fucking weird. I hate it. I'm really, 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 really unhappy with how the FIA has handled this and how the stewards have handled this.
Did you hear that, Max?
So Max gets a 5-second penalty for. This is absolutely bullshit and ridiculous. He
had to give up the place, re-race, and then they slap a 5-second on too.
This is absolutely bullshit. I'm really, really, really frustrated here.
But hold on, let's dial it back. We're upset not because either Mercedes or Red Bull or Max or Lewis we're not upset that people are gaining or losing advantage. We're upset at how this race is being
officiated. Yeah, this is so. Yeah, I'm very frustrated. Not with Max or Lewis. I want them to. I like I said. I want this to be decided by the driving and everything.
Right.
I don't like the idea of this being decided because the FIA can't figure out what the fuck they're doing because they're, give the place back, but we're not going to tell this person, but then there's confusion and now everyone's this is ridiculous. So Max has now given the place back, overtaken Lewis, and now had to give the place back another time.
Gotcha, okay.
And we have 7 laps to go and a 5-second penalty. It's going to be Red Bull giving the place back again because they are determining, hey, it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah. Well, and then the 5 seconds, he's still within Ocon. It's still P2. There's no reason to fucking...
But the other thing is, they're saying, Max made a brake test or whatever. Max didn't do anything. Max moved the opposite direction. When they had contact, Max had moved the opposite direction that Lewis went. Max went to the outside and Lewis went to the inside. He gave Hamilton the space there again to... this is frustrating. Like, you have one of the best championships in recent memory with some of the tightest racing, some of the tightest competition, some of the best drivers that we have seen in a long, long time between Lewis and Max. And now we have all of this controversy. Like, I don't want this Drivers' Championship, whichever way it goes, to be remembered for the controversy of who should have and who shouldn't have won. Calls. Because either the FIA told Red Bull to give the place back and then didn't tell Mercedes, or Red Bull was told and they told Max, but then the FIA told Mercedes and they didn't tell Lewis fast enough, or like this is absurd. This is so frustrating. We're gonna, as of right now, end up with a perfectly tied championship, which I'm okay with, but like, it's so frustrating to just see the confusion, the disarray from the FIA. It's unfair to the drivers, man.
Definitely agree. We have a radio message from Mercedes. Kind of tough to hear. Aaron, what are they saying?
So there's they're saying Lewis didn't give Max room to get out. Like, Max ran off the track to allow Lewis back by. And they're saying, hey, if you do something like that again, then you're going to get a penalty as well. Which at this point doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
Like they're going to have Max come in, pit for softs, go for the fastest lap to try and pull that point back at this point. But so Max saying tires are gone, 4 laps to go. He's going to come in, get some softs. He should have the gap. He has a 25-second gap on Ocon, but it's very just... I mean, I have to hold it in myself a little bit. I'm just extremely frustrated with the situation. Seb Vettel is done for this race as well. There, we're just seeing.
Did you hear a reason for Seb?
Well, Seb had the contact with Tsunoda, and I believe that would probably be something that they're just like, hey, we're out of the points. We're not gonna, let's retire the car, save the power unit and all for next race, and just like give it our all. So this is this is frustrating, and so we'll see. I mean, if everything goes properly for Max in a pit stop, they should be able to get the soft tires on and let him go for a fastest lap. But you also are risking, like, Ocon is within that gap, and Ocon is like...
That's what I was thinking. It just seems more reasonable to finish the race than try and go for fastest lap.
Probably. It's a little too close, because if you fuck something up, then you not only lose the position to Ocon, but you lose it to Valtteri as well. So I agree.
Dude, 5 drivers out of this race, man.
5 drivers out, and then also just a lot of controversy. Because now, to recap all of this, we've had controversy in terms of... like people being held up going around the track on safety cars too much. We've had people going to the grid and for the restarts and being way too far back and slowing down the entire grid from lining up to cool down their rivals' tires. We're now running into scenarios where, honestly, I don't know if we'll ever know or if we will ever hear officially what is the sequence of actions between the FIA and Red Bull and Mercedes with the incident with Max and Lewis. We're getting Max slapped with a 5-second penalty for something that really doesn't seem as though it's necessarily his fault. And I know the penalty was in terms of that turn where he and Lewis made contact, but I
thought that was being resolved with him just giving the place back. I thought that was the punishment, and then just let them continue racing. But them slapping on the 5-second penalty and saying giving the place up wasn't enough. That literally just cuts the head off of Max having a chance at P1.
Yeah. It's just but it's just difficult. It's difficult to be happy with this race, and honestly, I would, based on what's happened, I would not be unhappy with taking this track off, and that's a snap judgment in the moment and everything. But I mean, we saw, just looking at the qualifying and everything, we had multiple people spinning out. We had issues just getting full qualifying sessions done, with Sainz spinning out, with Max hitting the wall. There's so, in my opinion, in terms of safety and quality of race, these are reasons to not have this track on. If Saudi Arabia wants to build a circuit, I
don't think it's got to be taken off. I don't think it's got to be taken off. There's probably just some turn changes that they can make, maybe, and add additional runoff areas or something in the key turns.
But
that change this from being high speed and dangerous to high speed but exciting because it's safe. I understand some of the debris and the safety cars and stuff, but understand it's not going to be a perfect race every time. I don't think a country deserves to be neutered of a race just because of the 1-2 scenario wasn't ideal.
No, so my difficulty with that is this is a street circuit. Do they have the ability to expand runoff areas, to widen the track in areas? That's where my question comes into play. If they are using as much space as they can on the sides to give as much room for the track as they can and allow for the external area to be as much space as they need for medical things like the marshals and everything, then expand the track, make it wider, allow it to be this fast track with some runoff areas and all. But my problem is, based on general information on street circuits, you typically don't actually have the ability to expand space like that. You typically are in, and Valtteri gets up into P3.
But they literally just built this place. I'm sure it's not as.
But what if the road, as there's an entire road that goes over the water though? Are you saying
Monaco
that you can just
has multiple buildings and marinas and all that would limit the changing of something like Monaco? But if this whole structure was just built out to accommodate for this racetrack, I imagine the early phases of it would make it at least easier to change. I'm not saying it's just plug and whatever.
Yeah, but I can imagine that the roads and everything are outside of the road that goes over the water and everything. And as we come home with Lewis finishing P1, first Saudi Arabian Grand Prix winner, Max making it home on his tires for P2. Ocon passed Bottas back up into P3, potentially getting his second podium.
It's going to be tight. It's going to be racing right up until the end. Point one behind him.
Can we get a view of what the racing is like between Bottas and Ocon?
Oh, boy, 0053. It looks like he can go. He literally got by him.
And Bottas got P3. Man,
I'm so happy we were able to see that right there at the end.
I wish we could have seen more of it. Man. Damn. But yeah, sorry to kind of get away from the racing there, but just in terms of going back to
it'll be fine. It will literally be fine. I understand the stewards they were put in some really tough positions.
Oh no, most definitely.
And whether we were at Silverstone, whether we were in fucking Monaco or at Monza or wherever, this happening would have been tough no matter where we were at. So I just don't hang the track out to dry because it was just a tough scenario.
Yeah, no,
I understand. I understand that as a race, there have been better races, and for the end of the championship, maybe you would have liked it to play out differently. I would agree.
Yeah, it's just my concern is if you have the infrastructure that a road's already been built and everything, I don't know if you can potentially widen certain areas the way you would need to have it be safer, or have it be what you would want for it to be an F1 track. Obviously
nothing is set in stone.
But the thing is with Monaco, you have these tight roads and everything. You can't widen that either. But there's so many slow turns on that. This is an extremely fast track, and so you don't necessarily have the ability to slow it down like Monaco is slowed down to be able to have the street circuit. We'll see what happens. I'm not like I said, it's one track, it's one race, it's a small sample size. I get that, but my concern is if you've had this many incidents in a single time, including the F2 race that had multiple cars that were taken out and everything, where do you push it further and further to potentially have more dangerous situations in the future on the similar track and everything? Or do you reel it back in and say, hey, we can't allow this kind of issue to go on because you're putting drivers in danger? That's where it's so, and I'm not someone who wants to be in the position to make that decision, but it's you're looking at this in such a way that does the speed and excitement potential outweigh the cost of people who are just potentially in dangerous situations?
Yeah, sure, I get that. Yeah. I'm just not so sure that yeah, I just don't think it's as black and white as that. I think
it's definitely
be well, because there weren't even any conversations about, or not that were brought to my attention about track limits or this or curb. They could easily just install different curbs, talk about track limits. I have a feeling that there are at least 10 things they could look at way before concerning concrete ripping up or anything like that. So
yeah, there's got to be something they can look at least to hopefully make this a little bit of a safer track and all.
Yeah.
As is, I just can't imagine it continuing as is for.
Oh, it won't. I'm sure
another
it would.
Season.
Yeah.
Which is also frustrating though that you're in a position to have a brand new track and all. Where's the testing? Where is the other stuff that needs to go on to create a track that is going to be oh, well, this, before we even race on it once, we need to make changes to make sure it's safer and make changes to make sure that it's that. We saw areas where the midfield couldn't go 3 wide. and are causing contact with each other, causing Checo to get knocked out of the race and everything because of people getting squeezed like Leclerc and Gasly and everything. Like, that's a difficult thing to say, and there's I hope a lot of good conversations come of that, but I think where a lot of my frustration comes from is this is the second to last race in one of the tightest drivers' championships that we've had since Rosberg and Hamilton. So 5 years since we've had an extremely tight drivers' championship, and then we have all of this controversy in the second to last race. Why was it at a maiden track? That is a frustrating thing, I can imagine, for Max. I'm sure he's looking at it now and saying, hey, I just got to be better in one last race. That's all I need. I just need to beat him. And, I'm sure the drivers themselves are, gonna react accordingly and all, because they have to. But I just don't. I said it on the pod. I've said it in past race companions. I don't want a flag being thrown by the referees to make the deciding factor in the game. There have been so many penalties in this race that are just what do you do? That's not exciting to have that be potentially making some big decisions in the final two races of the season.
Right. Yeah, I would definitely agree. Looks like the two Mercedes drivers are taking a breather after that race. There is I don't want to say an air of tension, but they're definitely they're all definitely taking a breather after this one. It's not straight to the interviews.
No, that was and I mean, in the heat that they have in Saudi Arabia, all the stress that the drivers are under, they're in those suits much longer than they normally would be because of the delays, the safety cars, and all. Probably the additional 45 minutes. That's frustrating. But we're getting into the interviews with the podium positions. Justin, do you have anything else you want to say before we wrap up? We'll have a lot of talk on the podcast about the race and everything, refine some of our points from this in the moment reaction. So,
no, I'm just really happy that even with all the DNFs, that everybody just honestly made it out of the race safe. It was quite a hairy one, but overall, I think it's going to set us up for a very interesting final race. Going into, I guess it'd be Abu Dhabi for the final race of the year. Honestly, this was really fun, really exciting. A big nail biter with all the safety cars and red flags. Sure. Give it up to Mercedes. They ran a great race, great strategy, and overall, I think even in the heat of the moment, I'm happy to see the gentleman, the sportsmanship on both sides from Red Bull and Mercedes.
Absolutely.
So here's the counterpoint to everything is, even at a race where the FIA was making some questionable decisions, or not questionable, but let's just say that it seemed like there was a lack of communication among all the parties. The two Mercedes and Red Bull, the teams that you think would be throwing hats at each other, it seemed like they were pretty fair and respectable to each other. So I'm just happy to see that. But yeah, congratulations to Lewis, Max, and Valtteri for the podium.
Yeah, and hopefully we're looking forward to a really exciting race. I'm hoping that we have a good quality of race for the last one of the season. No, I just want it to be decided on the circuit, so we've got a lot to see and to go forward. But thank you all for coming, listening, and watching along with us for a race companion here at the Jeddah circuit in Saudi Arabia. We'll catch you guys on the podcast this week, and we're looking forward to the last race.
Peace out, everyone.
Later.